It's election day in the United States and people are lining up to cast their votes. This after months of intense campaigning by Democratic nominee Kamala Harris and her Republican challenger Donald Trump. Most analysts are calling it a very tight race. Various polls have predicted a neck-and-neck contest which brings the focus on the swing states to decide the fate of this presidential election. Donald Trump earlier today, after casting his vote, spoke to the press, and this is what he had to say.
No, I feel very confident. I have felt, we went in with a very big lead today, and it looks like Republicans have shown up in force. So we'll see how it turns out, but it seems that they have really shown up in force. I just got a call from Dan Patrick in Texas. He said they've never seen anything like it. Look, I ran a great campaign. I think it was maybe the best of the three. We did great in the first one. We did much better in the second one, but something happened. And this was the best, I would say this was the best campaign we ran.
The former Swedish PM spoke to my colleague Vishnu Shom on Trump and Harris's policies and what US polls mean for Russia-Ukraine war. Listen in.
Joining us now, a very special guest. Carl Bildt is co-chair of the European Council on Foreign Affairs. He's also a former Prime Minister of Sweden. Mr. Bildt, wonderful speaking to you. Thank you very much for being with us.
Wonderful to be with you.
Is there a real concern, Mr. Bildt, in Europe that if Donald Trump comes to power, that funding, US funding for the war in Ukraine might come to an end?
There are serious concerns, I would say, on two different aspects of Trump policies. One is the one that you mentioned, the American commitment to the security of Europe, where defense of Ukraine at the moment is the most acute issue, but there are wider issues associated with that. And then there is concern with his trade policies. We are dependent upon foreign trade and open global economy, and we have no interest in global trade wars of the sort that his policies might lead to.
But let's talk a little bit more about Ukraine. I was in Kiev about a month and a half back, and I asked President Zelensky this question, saying that if Trump comes to power, how would things change? Because the war is in a critical phase. And he seemed to suggest that in his personal conversations with Trump, there wasn't anything evident immediately that that might be the case. Do you therefore believe that that could essentially be rhetoric leading up to these elections, that in terms of support for Ukraine may not necessarily end?
I think it will be very difficult for the United States to abandon Ukraine completely, because that will be seen as a sort of defeat for the US, a defeat for the West, and it will have profound security policy implications for Europe. That being said, there is no question that I have been skeptical of the US part of aid for Ukraine. And the US aid has been important, primarily on the military side. If you take the overall support for Ukraine, it is, of course, overwhelmingly European, but also other global partners. Japan has been important, for example. But the US has been important, and a decline in that support will be a substantial setback, no question.
Now, all eyes are on the great American battle that's going on right now. Ami Bera, the longest-serving Indian-American congressman in the House of Representatives, earlier today spoke to my colleague Maria Shakil. Listen in.
Ami Bera, who is the longest-serving Indian-American congressman in the House of Representatives, is joining us. Mr. Bera, thank you so much. Congressman, it's almost certain that you will win California's 6th district. So should I be congratulating you now or wait for the results?
We always want to wait for the results, but I feel pretty confident about where we are.
Okay, so tell me, what have you really worked out that is giving you this confidence? Of course, given your experience and how close this election is turning out to be.
Now, obviously, for my race, I have a better district and an easier district. But at the top of the ticket with the presidential campaign, having gone to some of the states that are being contested, I think Vice President Harris is in a good position. But now it's just about the field campaign, getting people to vote and cast their ballots. And I think that's a place that we do it better than the Republicans. So cautiously optimistic, but this will be a close race at the presidential level.
Okay, actually, you've put it rather well that it has to be cautiously optimistic at this stage. But Congressman, this is your 6th consecutive term, and if you win, and you are also the senior most and the longest serving Indian American congressman in the House of Representatives. So that certainly is a rare feat.
It is. So that's the longest tenure in United States history. You know, what we affectionately call ourselves as a Samosa caucus. I think all 5 members will get reelected, and potentially, you know, we'll add another Indian American in Virginia as well as Arizona. So you might see the Samosa caucus grow to 7 members.
Now, as America votes in US, here in India, there was special prayers at a temple in Tamil Nadu for the family deity of Kamala Harris's mother, where prayers were offered for her victory. Born of an Indian mother who went to US, will Kamala Harris create history as the first woman US president is the big question.
The US presidential polls has a special resonance at the Tulasendrapuram village in rural southern Tamil Nadu. While it may not make an impact to presidential candidate Kamala Harris's chances, these special pujas at the local temple for the family deity of Kamala Harris were offered to pray for her victory. This is her maternal grandfather P.V. Gopalan's village, and Kamala's name remains engraved on the temple wall for her donation for renovation years ago. Arulmoli, the block's woman representative, is the one organizing the puja power for the presidential contender.
பெண் அப்படின்னா வீட்டை விட்டு வெளில வர்றதே ஒரு சாத்தியமான விஷயத்தில் அமெரிக்காவில் துணை ஜனாதிபதி ஆனாங்க ஜனாதிபதி வேட்பாளர் அறிவிச்சிருக்காங்க அப்படின்னா எல்லா ஒட்டுமொத்த பெண்களுக்கு சந்தோஷம், ஒரு ரோல் மாடல், அடுத்த ஸ்டேஜுக்கு போகிறதுக்கான ஒரு இதுதான் அவங்க கண்டிப்பாக ஜெயிக்கணும், அவங்க ஜெயிச்சே ஆகணும்.
This inspire all the girls, ladies to become a president, to do administrate the rule the country.
A poster in the village celebrates the vice president as their proud daughter. Today, 2 American women supporters of Kamala join the villagers rooting for her victory.
As women, how important for the US to have a Madam President?
It's time. It's more than time. It's time for kindness, and it's time for democracy, and it's time for a woman. Yes.
Thousands of miles away from the US, hearts beat here yet again for Kamala at the ancestral village of her grandfather Gopalan, who had a tremendous impact on her. It's a beautiful, inexplicable bonding, and people here hope Kamala would set history. At Tulasendrapuram with Suresh, Sam Daniel, Find TV.
One of the only things that Democrats and Republicans agree on is they are calling this election existential, that it is absolutely critical and the future of the country depends on the outcome. And I am in the swing state of Georgia, one of the 7 states that's really going to determine whether Kamala Harris or Donald Trump becomes president next January. And I'm in a particularly interesting county called Gwinnett County, just to the northeast of the city of Atlanta. This is one of the most diverse counties in the southeastern United States, and it's a bit of a litmus test, a microcosm of the United States. And we expect that the results that'll come out of here after the polls close will give us an early indication of who's going to win the election. Now, the background here might look familiar to a lot of viewers in India, because not only schools and libraries are being used as polling places, but also houses of worship. And I'm actually at a Hindu temple in Gwinnett County that is one of the polling places today. Well, Pennsylvania is the most critical because it has 19 electoral votes, and you need 270 to clinch victory for the presidency. Georgia here has 16, as does North Carolina. So Pennsylvania is considered the most critical. Georgia, also Very, very important. North Carolina is expected to go for the Republicans and Donald Trump. If Kamala Harris wins in North Carolina, that will be considered an upset. If she's able to take what's called the blue wall in the northeastern United States, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, then she's expected to get to that 270 electoral votes. And the other two states that are really in play are the two Sunbelt states of Arizona and Nevada, but they have much fewer electoral votes. And, you know, every poll we've seen for weeks and weeks has shown whether Trump is up one or Kamala Harris is up one or two, that's all within the margin of error of the polls, which is usually 3.5%. So all the major polls are saying that this has been virtually tied coming into election day.
With that, a quick break on the show. More on the other side. Stay tuned.